Welcome back to the Equip Business Coaching podcast series with David Beatty. I'm Terry Turon, and today our topic is handling challenging clients and situations. Morning, David. How's Cape Town?
Fantastic, and I hope things are well your side, Terry.
Yeah, they're great. Slightly chilly, but that's what May is, I suppose. So let's dive right in. You know, in previous podcasts, we've chatted about technology and systems and all those kind of things. This is dealing with people. So to start, what are some common challenges that real estate agents face when dealing with clients?
I think the first thing to remember, Terry, is that moving house is one of the most stressful things a person can go through. And so by definition, a buyer or a seller is already at a little bit of in a stressful situation. It's where a person lives. So we can, as a estate agent, should already expect our clients to be a little stressed out or easily annoyed or sensitive. So I think that for me really helps things. And from a practical perspective, the transaction of properties happens in an environment where there's uncertainty. The deeds office sometimes shuts down, and there are other factors which we as estate agents can't control. And I think it's useful to remember that as well.
So, in those tricky situations, as you say, that you can't control, how can agents effectively manage clients' expectations to avoid potential conflicts?
I think clients understand that life is not perfect. And so if we communicate throughout the process very well, I think that solves most of the challenges or disappointments or challenges that we get or clients come across. So communicating again and again throughout the transaction and what is going to happen, what is happening, or what has happened. And then also advising your client on potential pitfalls and challenges that may arise. I tend to not promise something which I have no control over. So we can say to the client, transfers typically this period of time, and we will do all our best to assist that happening. But please, Mr. Client or Mrs. Client, understand that this and this could happen, which could delay transfer. So let's plan around these items. So I think communicating upfront, advising our clients of pitfalls really does help.
Now, best laid plans and all of that, you want things to go smoothly, but as you mentioned, sometimes they don't. So what strategies can agents use to remain calm and professional when faced with these challenging situations or clients?
Sometimes just taking a deep breath helps. And I just keep thinking to myself that this is more than likely not personal, but coming from a client in a stressful period of their life. So I tend to say, acknowledge the person, their emotion, and then seek to understand their problem. And once they feel heard, you'll then be able to move forward with a solution. Sometimes we just want to go straight to the solution, but spend a few moments just to making sure that there's that a repartee or that connection with the client, that they feel heard and their emotion is understood. And then more than likely, they'll be open to working through a solution with you.
Now, that's actually a good point. How important is empathy in resolving conflicts with clients? And how can agents actually cultivate this skill?
Yeah, it's super important. And the way I do it is to put myself in the other person's shoes. And even politically speaking, I even say to myself, if I lived in that environment, for example, I might even be the same. So putting yourself in the other person's shoes, it means that we get empathy and we can start having an idea of the other person's emotion and where they're coming from. And then only when the other person feels heard will they even consider to start acknowledging your point of view. So don't waste your time trying to push your point of view if the other person's not feeling heard. So really start with that, and you'll start making progress.
Okay, so let's say you've done all of that, but when should agents consider ending a professional relationship with a client? And importantly, how can they do so gracefully?
There's always going to be challenging clients, and I wish, and I say to my team, we're going to have to learn to deal with challenging clients. But I agree, there is a hurdle which something is too, a client's gone too far. And we do need to learn to say no. I mean, when there's abuse, physical or not, obviously physical abuse, but verbal abuse, and a client is clearly not wanting to work a solution, then I say it's not worth my own sanity and the success of or the survival of my business to continue with that relationship.
Yeah.
And I just say to the client, and I couch it in their interest and say, look, client, it's not in your best interest that I continue to service you. Rather go to that person down the road, and they're going to be able to be better able to meet your needs. So I do it. I couch it in a way which is in their best interest, and that often allows me to walk away gracefully.
So, no one ever likes to go at it alone, so to speak. What resources or support systems can agents utilize when dealing with particularly difficult clients?
Like, it's good to have colleagues or mentors that we can throw ideas off, or we can decompress after a tough conversation. I mean, my other side of the business is a rental management business, and with very high profile landlord clients and high pressure and a lot of personal challenges. And we as a service provider need to get into that and stick it out and learn how to deal with the situations. But I then do say to my team, we need to decompress and survive and get our soul feeding done so that we can get back into the game. So I think having resources, technical resources that you can reach out to for solutions, so you don't have to feel that you're the answer, having mentors or coaches or colleagues that you can decompress with, and then having your own personal space that you can then have your soul feeding. I think it's what's going to help you to persevere with those difficult clients. I do believe, technically speaking, we do have what it takes. Most agents have the ability. It's just more the emotional capacity to get back into the game, to stick with that client.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you say, it takes a lot out of you. So it's great to have that support network. How can agents turn a challenging client or situation into a positive experience and actually a future opportunity for growth?
Often a challenging client, they're challenging because they really want the problem to be solved. And they actually wanted to work with you. And sometimes your most challenging client can be your biggest fan once you've solved their problem, because often it's not personal, as I said. And then they become your biggest fan. They tell everyone about you. And I also find that challenging clients, if we get past the emotional frustration of dealing with them, often I find almost all the time have actually some great wisdom to share as to how I can get better. And then after, what I find myself trying to ask myself is, after dealing with a challenging client, how could I have done things differently and better? And try and learn from the experience, as opposed to being only clouded by my frustration after dealing with that client.
Yeah, that's great advice, I think, generally. Effective communication, we've chatted about it in previous podcasts, but what role does it play in diffusing tense situations with clients?
Yeah, I mean, Terry, most situations and frustrations occur due to unmet expectations. So that means that communicating clearly around expectations will often mean that tense situations don't even happen after all. So I get cheesed off with my service provider because this didn't happen on this day. But if the service provider communicated to me that, David, more than likely it's not going to happen on this day and there's high chances of delay, well, then I wouldn't be unhappy, would I? So I think dealing with unmet expectations is super important. And effective communication also means listening well in the situation. And in that situation, discerning what is the best response to the client. And let's listen to the specific need or the frustration. I sometimes say to myself, define the problem. What is actually the problem here? And speaking to that.
Great. I think that's a great little phrase that you use there, unmet expectations. As you say, if you weren't told about it, you're going to get upset about it. And if you
Yes.
if it was communicated effectively, then you know what's going to happen. So no bad situation.
Mm-hmm.
So just rounding off then, what advice would you give to new agents who are facing their first challenging client or situation?
Terry, there's two things. First of all, challenging clients is part of doing business in real estate. You're going to meet them, expect it, and know that when it happens, it's not often personal. It is not necessarily because of you. And second of all, use challenging clients to learn and get better.
Absolutely. That's, as you say, that's the way you grow and learn and improve. So it's almost, if I can put a positive spin on it, it's almost a good thing when it happens.
Yes.
Out of challenges comes beauty, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, not to be too kind of personal about it, but people say, like, when your wife complains, it's actually amazing because now you know what the problems are. and that's in your relationship. So if you take it as a positive, I'd rather have a complaining client than a client that says nothing and disappears on me.
Yeah.
Right. So
absolutely.
So you're challenging clients, and as I said, and I've said it many times, is that we want to get better, and these clients can help us get better.
Perfect. Well, that's all we have for this episode of the Equip Business Coaching podcast series. David, as always, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Terry.
And we look forward to the next one. Catch you then.